The market is more demanding than ever. Deadlines are tighter. Budgets are thinner. Expectations are higher. This is not the era of task managers. This is the era of project leaders. Strategy means nothing without execution, and execution collapses without leadership. So the question is not whether projects matter. The question is whether you're equipped to lead them. Welcome to Project Management Masterclass, where we sharpen the mindset, frameworks, and discipline required to turn strategy into measurable results.
Do you feel it? The weight of pressure starting to take a toll on you. Or maybe it already has. The continuous deadlines are stacking up. Your inbox full of demands. Your stakeholders and customers are pushing you to go faster. The endless Teams and Slack notifications, the many dings, pings, and alerts on your mobile device. The team is waiting on you for direction, and it appears that you are the one holding things up. This is clearly nothing to do with your capabilities, but because everything is coming at you all at once. I felt that more than once. I'm Brittany Wilkins, and welcome to Project Management Masterclass. And if you've ever been in that moment where you know what needs to happen, you know what needs to get done, but you still don't move. Again, nothing to do with your capabilities, just because the feeling of overwhelm, the burden of pressure taking its toll on you. In a previous episode in my back catalog, my memory is failing me, but I talked about mental health as a project deliverable. But did you know that this month, the month of May, is Mental Health Awareness Month? But here's the truth no one talks about and is saying clearly, at least not all the time. Awareness alone doesn't fix this. Because the problem isn't that you are unaware, you may be overwhelmed. The problem is sometimes we don't know how to really function when that pressure hits us. We don't have a system for dealing with the pressure. So let's really talk about what's really happening. And here's the lie I believe we accept it without questioning it, that stress is normal. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying work should feel easy. And I'm not saying business is supposed to be all calm and predictable. But somewhere along the way, we started treating burnout like it means something. We're wearing burnout like a badge of honor, like it proves we are working hard, like it proves we are committed. Or maybe for you, it does. But let me ask you this. Who are you actually proving that to? Because long term, what is it really doing to you of constantly being burnt out or constantly feeling the weight of the pressure of the expectations placed upon you? It's really wearing you down. I want to share a quick story with you. I remember I was working in the automotive industry, and I was part of an advanced development team. And when I got hired into the automotive industry, the goal sounded really exciting on paper. Transform the business, build these new technologies, reimagine how wire harnesses would be manufactured. I worked in our wire harnessing division, and the primary operations was really human and operator dependent. And so our team was the one tasked with kind of leading the new generation of factories of the future. That was our theme, and that was our strategy. Or at least that's what we called it. But behind that vision, there was really no clear structure of factories of the future, as much of the team was off dividing and conquering. But really, that direction, that synergy that tied all the work we were doing together. It just really felt scattered and discombobulated at the time, as well as really no consistency. And our leader, he would change direction constantly, not occasionally, constantly, no cap, not even exaggerating. I'm always talking about decisions really shifting almost daily. And when that is happening, you just don't lose clarity. You begin to lose stability, and that's where you begin to feel there's really no structure, but I still feel the pressure to deliver. And being new to the industry, I just accepted it. This is the way that we are operating. But I watched one of my colleagues, John, go through it. He was a really sharp, capable engineer, had numerous patents and trade secrets. And he really was the kind of person that you would want on your team. Whenever you had a question, John was always available to answer it. Very helpful. He was very instrumental in really coaching and teaching me in the early stages of working in the automotive industry. But over time, I could see that the pressure was getting to him of this going constantly in circles on many of the things that we were tasked to deliver. And it wasn't just an all at once. It was just gradually he began to kind of pull back, kind of got quieter in meetings. In the meetings which he did talk, he was very snippy. He just didn't seem like himself, not the John that I was used to, who would sit down with me one-to-one and really mentor and coach me on certain aspects of the business. But I guess he had enough of the dog and pony show. And then one day he had left our group, he left our team. And at that moment, looked like he really made the right decision. But here's the thing, new boss, same environment. He didn't escape the pressure. He carried it with him. And the pressure even escalated by him even moving over to a new department. And I began to notice there were days when John was not at work or he didn't show up to work. And I just assumed that he was off on vacation or maybe out on business travel. Now, you know, every organization or business has someone with loose lips who tells other people's business as opposed to minding the business that pays them. And so it came out and it got leaked that he had a mental breakdown and he had to step away completely for a short amount of time to really get well and to really work on himself before he came back to work. And when I think back on that time, what really stands out to me isn't just what happened to him. It's just how normal it felt while I was in it and while my other colleagues were in it. And that's the part that should have bothered me back then, or maybe should have bothered us, because we've normalized stress to the point where we don't recognize when it's breaking us. Again, normalize stress. Companies do talk about burnout. Our leaders do tell us to take care of ourselves and to be sure to take your vacation days, your PTO days, do what you need to do. And you hear about mental health days and self-care routines. But when it comes to actually leading under pressure, does it feel like to you you're on your own? Because I know it felt like to me, I was on my own, that no one was really teaching me how to make decisions when I feel overwhelmed, how to handle conflict when emotions are high, how to stay clear when everything feels urgent. I could not find a standard operating procedure that told me step by step, here's how to operate under pressure. So what happens? We just start thinking something is wrong with us. And of course, you know, the first instinct or what you always see and hear, you need to learn how to manage your stress better. And yes, that's true. But here's the thing. We've never been really, truly, again, trained to operate under pressure. And pressure looks different for everybody. So let me ask you this. What is actually breaking you? Take a moment. Don't gloss over this passively. Ask yourself, what has actually broken me in the past, or what is actually breaking me right now? The first step is awareness, but awareness is easy. What's harder is recognizing how this is already showing up in the decisions that you're making daily. Let me show you what I mean. You have these decisions to make. There may be, for many of us, depending on our roles, our level, the expectations, and maybe a lot of decisions. We may have enough information. You know what direction to take, but something feels off. So what do? You wait, you overthink, you're in analysis paralysis, and you continue to revisit the same data or request new data. And you're telling yourself you need more clarity, but really, is it more clarity that you need, or is it decision avoidance without you recognizing it? And meanwhile, while you're going through and feeling the pressure and continuing to be in decision latency, the team is stuck. That's delay. That's not strategy. That's pressure you're not processing. And then that then becomes execution slowing down. Or maybe it's not decision avoidance. It could be avoiding conflict. There's a conversation you need to have, or someone in your team isn't delivering, or there's tension building between stakeholders and clients, and you know it needs to be addressed, but you avoid it. Telling yourself it's not the right time. I'll bring it up later. I'll have a follow-up call. The follow-up call never gets scheduled. Or I'll just address it in the next meeting. Later comes, the next meeting comes, and now it's worse. And this is where we begin to see the misalignment growing. That frustration is built up even further. Rework is increasing. And it's not a communication problem. That's that emotional avoidance under pressure. So if it's not decision avoidance, avoiding conflict, maybe it's this scenario of overreacting. You're in a meeting. Something is going wrong. Those deadlines continue to slip. Stakeholders, people are pushing back. And how do you react in that moment? Not intentionally, not strategically. In those moments, you're acting emotionally. Your tone is shifting. The responses that we speak become very sharp, and then the room feels it. Now everyone in the room is kind of second guessing you, or maybe now their emotional intelligence is not at the level that it was when the meeting first started. And this is where trust can take a hit, because in that moment, that's when it happens, where pressure controls you as opposed to you controlling pressure and it being the other way around. Or maybe if it's not the overreaction, and you may be in this stage, the silent burnout. Now, this one I can see is the most dangerous because it doesn't always look as obvious. And sometimes you can't really tell because people are really good at disguising things. See them still showing up to work, still getting work done, but they're just not all the way there. Their clarity is gone. To them, they feel everything feels urgent and they're constantly reacting. They are busy, but are they effective? And again, it's not a work overload problem. It's that mental overload with really no system to manage it. So pause here for a second and ask yourself, at times when you feel under pressure, what is the result of that? Is it decision avoidance? Is it avoiding conflict? Is it overreaction? Or is it you showing up, acting like everything is okay, but really you're about at your breaking point? And so we then, after we kind of that awareness stage and is really realizing where does this show up other than us just feeling tired or irritable or stressed out, how do we better anchor ourselves to manage pressure? and not let the pressure manage us. One way is through our own emotional intelligence. We've been taught to think about emotional intelligence the wrong way, as it often was being something as soft. We really just focus on the technical skills, the technical aspects of the jobs and the work that we do. We treat it as really something optional, something like either you have emotional intelligence or you don't. And that's wrong. Because really, truly, when you think about it, emotional intelligence is your ability. It's our ability to stay effective. And not only to stay effective when business and projects are calm and predictable, but staying effective when pressure is continuing to increase. That's it. And so here's how it really shows up in these moments is first having that awareness. What am I feeling right now? And it's not just your awareness. It is recognizing the feelings and the emotions of other people and the places in the room that you are in. Understanding and reading the room, leaning into those verbal and nonverbal vibes that people are giving off. It's that control. Do I react to it? Or how do I manage it better? It's the response. What does this situation require from me? Not necessarily what I feel, but what it requires. Because oftentimes, leadership is just about how you feel in the moment. It's about how you show up despite what you feel. And I'm not saying to neglect your feelings or we should neglect the feelings of others, but really having the emotional intelligence to feel that and still, in spite of that, still work through it. And if we don't have ways to manage pressure, then what will your default reaction be? Will it continue to be what I described earlier, avoiding decisions, avoiding those hard and uncomfortable conversations, knowing that you're burnt out, but failing to address it? So here's what we have to begin to do to really learn how to manage ourselves and manage the pressure better. You have to begin to name it. You have to really call out the feeling for what it is. So ask yourself in those moments, what am I feeling? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Again, the foundation may be pressure, but understanding pressure of what? Is it a team, individual? Is it a process? Is it a tool? Like, what is it? What has caused this built up pressure? And it may be things that are outside of work, but it's definitely infecting the way that you work. Because when we don't name it, we won't be able to really act on it. So again, really naming what we're feeling in those moments. Also, too, how do we neutralize it? How do we just pause and how do we just breathe for a moment? I don't mean forever, just long enough to stop the automatic reaction. Because sometimes our reactions can have negative consequences that may erode people's trust in us, or it may require us to apologize, and it may take some time to kind of build and repair a relationship. If you just would have stopped and took that moment, you wouldn't be in these predicaments that we get ourselves into in trying to rebuild our relationships back with people for, having the disagreement and having the misalignment where we made it and about the person, or we attacked the person as opposed to attacking the process or tool. And this is where most people fail because they skip the pause and they go straight into action. And I get it. We're human. Some days it just really comes out. It just really boils over. But again, if we don't find a way to correct it and address it, it will continue to boil over. And then, after we name it, we try to neutralize it. How do we navigate it? Because we know, like, again, pressure is not an on and off switch. There's always, expectations, more expectations. But again, now, how do we decide in this situation, what does it actually require? Is it a decision that, I've been putting off, but I know I I have to make. So maybe I need to map out, how do I navigate this situation? Maybe it's a decision tree. Is it a conversation that I need to have, but you feel you don't have the right words, or you wrote that email about 8 or 9 times and it has some heavy tone in it and you're trying to calm yourself down? Or maybe too, it's a boundary that has to be set, a boundary that has to be either be broken, or a boundary that better boundaries have to be established. And this is where you begin to get that control back before a business leader or project leader burns out, before you shut down, before you really start to second guess every decision or make something else is already happening or happened. And so you're not really managing that pressure that is coming at you in a constructive and a healthy way. We just continue as humans. Sometimes we absorb things and get into wear emotions or sleeves. And so that every deadline, every expectation, every conversation we avoid, that pressure is stacking up. And without realizing it, that's where we begin to lose clarity. There are days when we don't know if we're coming or going, or what's next, or what should I be doing? What should I be working on? And that's where things really begin to slow down. And you start making decisions from emotion instead of intention. And that's really what actually begins to really break us. Sometimes is really not the workload, it's not the project, it's really just the lack of way to really process pressure in real time. And I remember reading a quote that said, it's not the weight that weighs you down, or it's not the load that weighs you down, it's how you carry it. And so we have to ask ourselves, if I haven't found a way to process pressure or to deal with the pressures and the expectations that I am feeling, what remains the same and what can continue to have consequences tied to them if nothing changes or nothing else will? Because again, it's not tools, plans, strategies, or the financials. I mean, you'll keep running into really these same walls, which is why I think even in the age of AI, we still have to learn how to manage ourselves and how we think and how we respond and how we lead under pressure. And that's really where the emotional intelligence becomes real. And so how do you work to really sharpen your emotional intelligence? How do you recognize what emotional intelligence is, what stage or phase you may be into it, or knowing if you're wearing your emotions on your sleeve, or is it something that is part of your professional development plan? If not, and you're ready to work on that, you can learn more at developpowerskills.com. Again, www.developpowerskills.com. The link is in the show notes. So as I wrap up this very, I think, important, episodes, again, I like to focus on the fundamentals, but more importantly, the people in the process. I come back to the question that I asked at the beginning. Do you feel it? Don't just think about it, but give yourself space to be vulnerable. Be honest with yourself, because the way you answer this question, it may already be showing up in how you lead or how you plan to lead in the future. And we are all imperfect human beings. And yes, I think, I say I fall short of the glory every day. Every day I'm striving to be, a better person than that, and try to keep my emotional intelligence much as tact as impossible. But again, it requires us at times to, as I said, find ways to navigate it, to understand what is driving me to be burdened, what pressure points are being imposed on me, and then what are the decisions or not the decisions that I'm making? What am I avoiding just because I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so overcapacitized, and then what is the process that I'm taking myself through to name it, neutralize it, and find a better way to navigate it. Because that's essentially how we continue to improve ourselves and also to help improve others, around us. And that really what it's all about, because if you're not your best self personally, how can you be your best self professionally? And it's how we show up each and every day to drive project success. So I plan to go deeper on this topic again, because I don't think it's a topic that should be talked about one time. I think we need to continue to talk about mental health and talk about the expectations of leading under pressures as project leaders within our profession. So stay tuned for the premium episode. This is Project Management Masterclass.
Execution separates professionals from leaders. Stay disciplined, stay intentional, stay sharp. This is Project Management Masterclass.